Go ahead.
Sweet.
All right.
Well, hello. My name is Jesse Majors. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a white male with a beard wearing a dark red shirt.
Hello, my name is Dylan Crozier. I'm also a he, him, and I have a beard and glasses. And I'm a white male, and I'm wearing a normal shaded red shirt. And I have anxiety from being overstimulated, so I would greatly appreciate it if you could take into consideration talking too fast or sharing too much information at once. I have a overstimulation. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll keep that in mind as you can. I can't go on with this shit anymore.
That was the perfect thank you. All right.
Yeah, that's what they would have done in the meeting, you know.
Dude, that is awesome.
So it was Kamala Harris.
I guess you saw that video too, right?
Yeah, of course. What do you think it was about? Now, I've seen Microsoft do this in one of their meetings. And I think I showed you this on the podcast, even maybe many episodes ago. But I believe their explanation was that was for vision impaired folks that were tuning in to the broadcast. But I don't know, like, why did they just start doing this? That perfectly aligns with all the woke stuff. So
yeah, and then if it's about the woke stuff, why make that other excuse?
Right. Why not just embrace the religion? It's a religion. I mean, full blown religion at this point, right? Like you speak the ideals, like go ahead. What were you going to say? That's
like church stuff. No, I'm just saying like how
it is church. It's church.
There's no way anybody can see that video and still be on board with what's happening. That's my whole thing with this whole podcast and every episode we do is like, how do people just not see it? It's crazy.
At this point, I mean, it's, dude, you are outcast if you don't participate in it at this point. Like, anyway. I'm not going to say shit that's going to get me. You start self-censoring, and that's the problem as well. Is like, because of the job I have, there are certain things that I don't want to like talk about or say that my company's doing that is just all part of this religious movement. Right. So, and now I'm self-censoring because I'm not going to share it with you guys on the podcast. And that's the whole point of this movement, this religious movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, because all it takes is
silence the dissenters, person. Right?
Well, all it takes is one person to make one complaint, and that's it. It doesn't take a trial, or there's no relying on the integrity of yourself. It's just it's like mousetraps in a dark room, and the smallest thing will set one off. And, why are the mousetraps even here to begin with? So it's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. But, anyway, but
do you have
funny video that, watching Kamala Harris, dance around and play the game.
That was so funny. Do you have to say your pronouns and stuff whenever you're on conference call? It's not.
No, it is. It's encouraged. There's actually encouraged.
Okay.
Yeah, in the internal system we have, there's a spot for you to list your pronouns. Like in the internal address book. I won't name the program, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like if that makes you comfortable, cool. Especially if you are a trans person and you don't want to be misgendered at work, that's fine. It's not forced compliance right now at my place of work with that stuff. So, hey, whatever, more power to you. Doesn't affect me at this moment, so I don't really care about that. Like, cool, do it, list your pronouns. Like, I'm not going to treat you any differently if you do. But it's pretty obviously what I identify as, right? Like, don't make me take extra steps in my life that I don't have to take. Whenever, we're playing a stupid game when you know what I am.
Yeah. Anyway. I could get it if somebody says, hey, you misgendered me. And then you're like, okay, I'll call you Raffaello Garofalo. And you're they, them. That's fine. But at a meeting, every time you have to introduce yourself, that's a bit much.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're in crazy land.
And speaking of,
but like I met a person at work the other day that was, I did not know what they were. Right? I couldn't tell if they were male, female, what they identified as, but they were really cool. Like I talked to them for like a solid 20 minutes, just about bullshit, just about life and bullshit. They were really cool, and but I just didn't delve into any type of gendered language one way or the other there. But it never came up, and in real life, it wasn't a big deal, right? Like it didn't fucking matter at all. So,
I have this fond memory when I was living in Bellingham a few years ago, and I was delivering food. I delivered some food. I remember the name. It was the name I just said, Raffaello Garofalo. It was something like that, like AE's, H's added at the end of consonants, like FH and then LH. It was like real mystical. And I didn't think anything of it. You deliver to all kinds of people. So I was like, well, maybe it's like an Ethiopian woman or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, this lady sounds hot. Ethiopian woman getting, just getting some burgers, trying to get that American food. And then the person that opened the door was obviously a transgender. It was a dude that was gay, wearing a dress, hair, beard, dude, just wearing a dress. And that was the first time I was ever like, you know what? That's kind of misogynistic, right? Like just because you want to be a woman doesn't mean you got to go wear a dress. You could easily just wear normal clothes.
Yeah.
If you're going to do have a or maybe because you like dresses, then you must be a woman. There's no way out of it. But anyway.
Or maybe he was just in drag.
It was a white dude.
Maybe trans he was in drag. Dude. You sure he was something identified as trans?
Changed their whole that this was Raffaello Garofalo. Just the dude.
Raphael could be a
changed their whole name. It sounded
Raphael
like
could be his birth name.
Bro, come on, man. His name was like Matt.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? His Matt was
that
like
kind of white dude. He wasn't ethnic.
No ethnic at all. So they just like changed their names to like a natural herb. They just pick it out of like some survival book off of their dad's shelf or something. They're like, that's beautiful. And that's their name. But I said, thank you. All right, thanks, man. Have a good one. And after I left it, I was like I said, man, like twice.
It's been eating at you ever since.
Yeah, I still think about it because they were super nice. And that's back to your point. In the real world, it's much different than what they're trying to project.
Right.
But for you, self-censoring, because one little complaint, like I was saying, can do this. And that's what's happening at Disney.
Oh, look at that segue. Well, this is not self-censoring. It is like straight up censoring. At Disney, this is more actually at Disney's subsidiary, I suppose, Hulu. Democrats are angry with them for blocking content in some of the ads that they submitted.
Yeah, I thought this was pretty interesting because Disney
very much
told some Democrat. Basically, there's a bunch going on between Democrats and Republicans trying to run ads on the streaming services.
So there's a Communication Act of 1934, which is a law that requires broadcast television networks to provide politicians. You fucked me up because you pulled my article away. Provide politicians equal access to the airwaves. So that came out in 1934, obviously before the internet, before the streaming services. So guess what? Those streaming services are not bound by that Commissions Act. So they can kind of play by their own rules when it comes to things like political advertisements, which is not the case for traditional broadcast networks. So that creates this opportunity for censorship, and that's what the Democrats are saying Hulu is doing. So there are 3 Democratic campaign committees that submitted ads. They submitted ads to both Hulu and Disney affiliated ABC affiliate in Philadelphia and the company's cable sports channel ESPN. So the channels that ran on traditional broadcast actually aired the ads where Hulu did not. So this really pissed them off. Quote, Hulu censorship of the truth is outrageous, offensive, and another step down a dangerous path for our country, said the directors of the three committees, Christy Roberts, Tim Perisco, and Noam Lee, to the Washington Post. They, quote, voters have the right to know the facts about MAGA Republicans' agenda on issues like abortion, and Hulu is doing a huge disservice to the American people by blocking voters from learning the truth about the GOP record or denying these issues from even being discussed.
I thought that was an interesting spin. Did you catch that? Voters have the right to know the facts about MAGA Republicans' agenda on issues like a MAGA Republicans' agenda. Their argument is focused on the far extreme of the opposite.
Go ahead and talk, because they're complaining about MAGA Republicans, right? And you know what? I don't know who's doing the right or wrong in this whole. So before we get there, just kind of give my thoughts on it. Like, maybe the Democrats are right in this scenario and they shouldn't be censoring the content of these ads and just let them run as is, because just in general, I'm kind of not a fan of censorship overall. But go ahead, continue with your thoughts. I just wanted to get that out there, because they talk about trying to take down these MAGA Republicans and how dangerous they are, yet they're doing shit to fund these MAGA Republicans.
The Democrats?
Yes.
How?
Well, go ahead. I'm pulling up some articles.
Okay. I thought it was also interesting that they're worried about, it says, huge disservice to the American people by blocking voters from learning the truth about the GOP record or denying these issues from even being discussed. And I don't want to generalize, but issues being discussed have not been welcome the last couple of years. And all of a sudden they are. You know what I'm saying? Like this thing is one of those paragraphs that's very cleverly worded to make you see something, like focus the issue here on MAGA Republicans, censorship, not discussing important issues, instead of focusing on like why were their ads not run. It's like very cleverly worded so that you'll side with them. That's what I'm saying.
Right. No, I see what you're saying. Yes. Well, they're politicians. They're good at that, dude.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly.
All right.
But so I was also I felt pretty good knowing that Disney didn't just run with whatever Democrats want, because it does seem all the time like the establishment is just running with shit.
You're right.
They eventually did.
It made you feel like maybe there is some type of separation between government and for the private sector.
Yeah, like maybe there is a God.
Maybe so.
Check. So
anyway, I didn't read this, but let me just share this article.
Okay, go ahead.
Take over. So I did not read this at all. Read the headline and just, thought it lined up with this article we're currently reading. Enable screen sharing. This always happens. Yeah. Damn, I need some water. While you enable screen sharing, let me grab some water real quick.
All right. Enabled. It goes on to say Hulu's censorship of the truth. This is a quote from the executive directors of the three committees. So somehow three directors agreed on a quote and they all said it at the same time.
I'm right there.
So J-Dog, I'm just reading this paragraph real quick.
Go ahead.
It says, Hulu's censorship of the truth is outrageous, offensive, and another step down a dangerous path for our country. Funny, like no one was talking about all the censorship for COVID. Actual misinformation.
Hilarious.
You know what I'm saying? So all of a sudden they're
censorship for thee, not for me.
Yeah. And this is coming from the executive
That's the name
directors.
of the episode.
Censorship for the enough. Okay. The executive directors of the three committees, Christy Roberts, Tim Perisco, and Noam Lee, said in a statement. So that's weird. All three of them said this, right? Voters have the right to know the facts about mob. Oh, did we just read that? Yeah, we just fucking read that. And it goes on to say here, to not discuss these topics in my campaign ad is to not address the most important issues facing the United States. Your ban on mobilization messaging has a perverse effect on democracy. This is an interesting turn for the Democratic Party to all of a sudden be saying what MAGA Republicans have been saying the last couple of years. Okay, go on with your article about why the Democrats are funding my far right.
Well, so they're complaining that the whole gripe is that these MAGA Republicans are destroying our country, which is why, it is absolute disservice to the American people for them not to allow us to run these ads to tell the truth about what MAGA Republicans are doing. Yet we have them doing shit like this, like why the Democrats are funding my far right opponent. So this is an article, I believe, about people that are in the Republican primary for Michigan's 3rd congressional district. So there's two Republicans running for office, and the race is super close. And basically, from the gist of it, from what I've just skimmed through, the Democrats are funding these super far right folks in these primaries because they think they have a better chance of beating them in the general election.
I think that's what you're talking about.
So you're putting these people that you say are the devil and evil and like the rot of our country and democracy in a position to actually take power if they fucking win, if Trump is able to galvanize his base enough, because you think you lead them in the polls a few points. Like, man, it's a fucked up approach, in my opinion, to trying to do what's right for democracy, right? If you're going to play that card.
Yeah, exactly.
You could be letting these moderate Republicans who actually who aren't fucking crazy conspiracy theorists and shit in these positions where they can actually start to maybe cross party lines on some issues and work with you guys in the Democratic Party to actually pass some laws that actually do some good for the fucking American people. Maybe we can get universal health care done, right? Or something like that, right? But no, we're going to fund these MAGA Republicans because we think, man, just this, it's just a desire for power, man, is overwhelming. Yeah. That they're willing to like play with fire like that.
And that's apparently what they did when Trump got elected. Hillary Clinton, Jimmy Dore explained it pretty well. So I'm just trying to recapture. Essentially, Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party pushed Trump to be the guy they ran against. That's who they wanted. Like, they went after all the other Republicans so that they could have Trump left because they thought I'd beat him. And it turns out Clinton and the Democrats sucked so bad they got exposed. They were just the next wave of Wall Street players.
Yeah, and that's what's going to end up happening, right? Because they're doing crazy shit like this. I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she, her. I'm wearing a blue suit with, brown vagina hair. Like, what the fuck, dude? Come on,
brown vagina hair.
Like, for the public, it thinks that the far left have taken over Democratic power positions. So
that's a fun premise. I'm trying to imagine like Tim Dillon. If Saturday Night Live was still good and they made fun of Democrats, they would totally have a table where they all just gave too much information. Like, that'd be awesome.
That would be great. That would be a fun
awesome
sketch.
Yeah, it just gets awkward and cute, and then it gets to Biden, and it's way too much information.
And he starts talking about
when Biden starts doing that,
kids and shit.
I'm Joe Biden and I'm this and that. Dude, that's so crazy.
Did you see the fucking White House videos of him just with his eyes like super open? You didn't?
No,
like he didn't blink for like 2.5 minutes. It was
really?
like the creepiest shit.
I didn't see that. I did see a video. I saw it from Broken Simulations Twitter feed. They shared the clip of he turned his card around and he was clutching it. and you could see what his notes were. And it was like, you in capital enter the room. 2, you greet so-and-so. 3, you go to your chair and sit. 4, you, it was the most basic stuff for him to just, it was wild. Unbelievable. It's not even a good story because it sounds ridiculous. You got to see it.
I've seen that photo. I know what you're talking about.
That photo?
I've seen it. Yeah.
Bro, I mean, why don't we pull it up right here and share it for the people?
I heard push, there's always, they always obfuscate, right? But so they say that every president gets those types of detailed instructions for these types of press events. But I don't know if it's that detailed. Like maybe they do have like little bullet point cue cards for things, but you take a seat at this table, like being super specific like that. I don't know if they're ever always that detailed. If they do get those types of instruction cards.
And there's no critique on it. And when Trump was president, everyone was freaking out. Everyone was politically awake and talking about, yeah, well, he can't even read the teleprompter. That's why we don't have, and no one, they're all quiet as fuck
right.
now.
You're right.
Whenever they're all quiet as fuck now.
Whenever they're actually changing the transcript of what he said when he fucks up on the teleprompter.
Yeah, it's just so I can't find that picture. Nothing's coming up. Interesting. Maybe I'm not searching right. But
using DuckDuckGo or Brave.
Yeah, I forgot what I was saying, but pretty crazy. Oh, like the whole Ukraine thing. All of a sudden, everybody has Ukraine flags, and they're politically and they've said nothing the last 20 years. And that's something that really bothers me is how the left is. Like all today's millennials, just in general, really bother me because their heads are up their own fucking ass and they think they know shit and they don't. Like hippies. Everyone's like, I'm a hippie girl, hippie guy. No, you're not. You don't know jack shit about the fucking hippies who got killed by the National Guard protesting a war in the 70s. What the fuck are you doing? Introducing yourself with pronouns, talking about this and that. Talking about abortion. Not that these things aren't issues, but y'all have been quiet as fuck about 66,000 dead civilians in the Middle East the last 20 years. Yeah. And I'm supposed to believe you all of a sudden when you come out talking about how Trump can't read. He's reading the teleprompter and Ukraine. Shut the fuck up. Honestly. It's so wild to watch it happen. It's almost like a curse being awake. And I'm with Sam Tripoli.
It's like
he says waking up. Or conspiracies is like leads you to spirituality because in some way, whatever you want to, the synonym for that. Because
he has a spirituality podcast now.
Yeah, you have to like rise above this shit and just accept it. And it's like
we realize it's that's not all. Actually, all of this shit we're talking about isn't what's truly important in your life anyway, right? It's your direct family, your kinship with your friends, like the spiritual shit, right? Those experiences that you have with the people that you love on this planet. That what this is really all about.
Yeah.
Now, all this other shit does get in the way of that. Those things, right? So they are important, but anyway.
Here's a weird paragraph. This policy has, and this is coming from Patel, the chief of something. Patel, who the fuck is Patel? One of the leaders of those things earlier. So
the committees.
Yeah, well, I think one of those leaders. Hulu contact. Yeah, Patel's campaign. He was the leader of one of those things. He said this policy has incredible implications for people nationwide, both voters and people running for office. You need to communicate with younger voters on the mediums where they are watching. Cable is not where they are watching. That's such a creepy admission to what they're doing.
But
I'm trying to watch The Mandalorian. Don't openly talk about how you're trying to get in there and tell me something about what I need to know. You don't need to communicate with me about jack shit on Disney Plus, motherfucker. Let me watch The Mandalorian without.
Yeah, well, it's so weird. Disney Plus, they actually took a stance that they will not have political or alcohol ads on their streaming service, which they don't have ads at all right now if you have Disney Plus, but there's an ad-supported version coming later this year.
Yeah, which is like, why didn't they do that
and
before?
then Netflix is announcing an ad-supported version later this year as well, but they don't know what their specific advertising policies will be. But all of these politicians want to get in on the ground floor with these streaming services that do advertisements. Hulu's one of the few right now that does advertisements as a streaming platform, because I mean, that's exactly what they just admitted in that paragraph you just read. That's where all the younger voters their eyeballs are at, right? Like the boomers were watching cable TV. That's why traditionally they would spend millions and millions of political dollars in political ads every year, every election season on cable ads. But now that money is shifting over to these streaming platforms, but it's harder for them. Yeah, $7.8 billion that they're going to spend in the 2022 election season, which is nuts.
Isn't that fucking nuts, dude? So here's I'm going to read this part. Hulu contacted Patel's campaign Monday afternoon after the initial publication of this story to tell him that his original ad would be accepted, including the images of violence on January 6th. Again, we did an episode on January 6th a while back, and you know what I mean? Enough with all that stuff about the violence and shit. So his original ad would be accepted, including images. So that's why they were not wanting to run it, because they were actually showing disturbing things. And that made sense. Said, I want to thank Hulu for allowing Americans to know about the most pressing issues of our day. Sometimes a simple conversation can make change. What a kind-hearted soul. Like, what a good guy this Patel is. A person familiar with Hulu's policies who spoke on the condition of anonymity to talk about internal matters. So the decision to approve Patel's ad had been made before Monday, though it was not immediately communicated to his campaign. So this is the part where the communications get really weird. And something's happening. This person said that the company does not publicly disclose its advertising guidelines, but that they prohibit advertising that takes a position on a controversial issue, regardless of whether it's a political ad. The ads are reviewed on a case-by-case basis, with edits sometimes recommended to the advertisers. In recent months, the company reevaluated its policy implementation to give candidates greater flexibility to explain their positions, the person said. So they don't have rules. They're making them up as they go. And as they go, they're compromising to the Democratic campaign that's pressuring them. So that's what we're seeing. And I think this is interesting because since this is like a whole new world of internet streaming and how to advertise, they're figuring all this out right now. And this could be the foundation for how the internet will get ran later, because they could, in the next 4 years, you know, the long game that they play, the Democrats stay in power, they could as well start running new ads. The Communications Act of 34, it could be a new amended act of 2025, where what kind of laws would they slide in there, and like the infrastructure bill of 2027, to where the internet is just
regulated,
totally regulated. And it's all based off of ads, again, about, hey, you know, we're announcing our pronouns for blind people.
So this is where, like you said, this is where it gets interesting, because Hulu was really back and forth with Patel and that team, that committee, because they originally, let's see, let me find a part of the article and I'll read it. I'll just read it. Read it. So 3 days after placing the ad buy, the three Democratic committees were told by Hulu through a vendor that the delay was content related, according to a person familiar with the events, who also spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the internal process. The next day, Democrats scheduled a call with Hulu to discuss the matter, but the Hulu officials canceled the call just as it was about to begin, suggesting by email that they reschedule later in the day, the person said. Hulu officials did not communicate further that day. An attorney for the Democratic committee emailed twice and called twice the following day in an effort to restart discussions, receiving no response. The following day, on Thursday, Lance Delaney, an account executive in Disney advertising sales, emailed to say, "We have received creative approval," only to follow up hours later with a message that said, "The message was sent in error."
Yeah,
that's a mixed communication, right? Patel's campaign received a similar message from a Hulu representative on Thursday asking him to resubmit the original ad. He said the Hulu officials suggested that they had some kind of meeting and standards were changing. The following day, Patel said the campaign was told the original ad would still not run. On Monday, he found out that it would run. So there's this whole back and forth and everything. This is not the first time Democrats have been blah, 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 blah. But this happened after this story ran. So this story came out and then they ran the ads. There's a part of this article that it says that. I'm trying to find where it's at. I remember reading that earlier today.
Streaming spending, which is that 7.8 billion. Tracking firm Kantar Media projects 7.8 billion will be spent on political advertising for the 22 election season, with about 1.2 billion going to over-the-top and connected TV spending, a category that includes ads delivered through streaming services and set-top boxes like Roku. The streaming spending, according to Kantar, is the, quote, new darling of the political set. How creepy. Creepy. And do you remember whenever Ron DeSantis was talking about the taxes of Orlando and all that shit? That ties in here too. Did you find your spot? Because we can tag back to this.
Yeah, so Hulu contacted Patel's campaign Monday afternoon after the initial publication of this story that morning to tell him that his original ad would be accepted, including the images of violence on January 6th. So this was after the back and forth, right? So they basically emailed him on, that before the weekend saying, nope, your ad's not going to run. And by Monday morning, after the story airs, actually Monday afternoon. So this story came out Monday morning. Then Hulu contacts Patel's campaign Monday afternoon saying, cool, we'll run your ad. We'll keep the original images and everything in the ad. So them making up these rules on the go, it was obvious what happened, that they were now you have pressure from the press that's going to make your company look bad and biased potentially. So they're like, fuck it, just run the ads, leave the content they wanted in it. We're going to let it go. So that's kind of the kind of the Wild West that you create when you don't have, a Communications Act like they had for the 1934. So it's interesting.
It's really interesting to watch this happen in real time, because this is how I think of things. And it goes back to boxing and listening to MMA podcasts. When I started listening to a lot of podcasts, I would hear Brennan Schaub or Michael Bisping or whoever I'm listening to for fight breakdowns. You might not like Michael Bisping or Brennan Schaub. I listen to them for the fight breakdowns. Mm-hmm. You give good fight breakdowns. All the other stuff is like, right. But fight breakdowns is nah. So they would talk about fights in the past. Amazing fights like, oh, Anderson when this happened, or some name I never heard when this happened. And I was realizing all this stuff I missed.
That's why I watch every fight live now when I can. I follow up the week just so I can feel like I'm in the moment.
Yeah, man.
That I connect to that moment and then I'll remember it, right? Then it has an impact on my life because I watched it live, right?
Yes.
I watched that pay-per-view event live. Yeah. I saw that knockout live.
Yeah, I saw the leg snap live. I remember how that felt. Nobody believed it for about 8 seconds. So that's why I try to watch things live. Because, Mike Tyson's heyday, people didn't realize it was happening when it was happening.
Right.
And that's kind of like this, because you said the wild, wild west of this. And that's what triggered this is interesting times because we're watching it in real time. We'll look back on this and be like, dude, fucking remember all that shit? We were paying attention to it too. We were there, for the Conor McGregor era and Nate Diaz peaking. I was there live, dude. When Holly Holm knocked out Ronda, I watched it live.
I came in just after all that with all that. So I'm actually, I came in at the end of the Conor era on MMA.
Did you generally pay attention though?
Yeah, to just
generally.
the big fights, the big fights.
And like in senior year, like 2007, 2006, and 5, I was watching pay-per-view. And that was like the Brock Lesnar era.
Oh, wow. So you were way before me.
Yeah. Like when Nate Diaz was debuting, when he was a young gun, and Nick Diaz was in his prime. Back when Strikeforce was a thing, and I didn't even know it. Back before UFC bought Strikeforce and it migrated. Because I just stopped paying attention in like 2010, and that's when Nick Diaz fought Anderson Silva. And I look back and like, how did I miss that, dude? Nick Diaz, but I just wasn't paying attention. And then like I got obsessive about it whenever Holly was going to fight Ronda, because I always paid attention. But whenever Holly was going to fight Ronda, I felt like I need to watch this. And sure enough, it was history. And that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah. We're like seeing that with these political ads.
So we got 3.5 minutes left. Let me stop this and start a new session.
Sounds good.
And
I'm get some water real quick.
Yeah, and I'm gonna finish up because there's a chunk here with the Ron DeSantis that ties in. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So earlier, when we were talking about Hulu contacting Patel's campaign after the story published, a person familiar with Hulu's policies who spoke in anonymity about the internal matters. They said this. They said, "We do accept candidate ads that reference those topics, abortion and gun violence. It needs to be in context. Disney and Hulu declined through a spokesperson a request for comment. The blocked ads do not use violent or jarring imagery. One spot lists statistics about the harm of gun violence and criticizes Republican efforts to block more gun regulation. Fair. The other warns that Republicans are trying to rip away access to abortion without exceptions for rape, incest, or the lives of those who are pregnant." Seemingly fair.
Fair.
Disney faced a separate employee backlash. This is what the segue was earlier, because you have to self-censor because all it takes is one employee to complain. Anybody to complain and you're done. And that's where this whole issue comes from, is an employee that complained. It's not society rising up. Hey. Sorry, my little guard dogs. Good boy, Flimmy Flim.
Some homeless people. Some
gunshot out there. Another gunshot.
That's not good.
Or a firework. Hey. Yeah, so it's an employee that complained about this. That's where this whole thing is coming from. An employee complained, and now Disney and large corporations are navigating the weeds, the wild west of laws.
Well, of the woke religion. Well, we're in the woke religion.
Not even the woke,
like for you.
A woke, or like a employee backlash.
Well, it's generally a small minority a small vocal minority that causes these reactions.
This is literally the smallest amount of vocal minority, one employee. So Disney faced a separate employee backlash earlier this year after corporate leaders declined to make a public statement opposing a Republican bill in Florida that prohibited teachers from discussing sexual orientation or gender identity with younger students. So I remember this was happening just a few months ago.
The Don't Say Gay bill.
Yes, they didn't want teachers to talk about that shit to kids. And Disney didn't make a public statement opposing it. So the employee complained.
Yep. And then Bob Chapek, Disney CEO, came out and was like, "Well, you know what? We do think that Florida's fucking up, and we're not going to fund any campaigns for you guys anymore."
Apologized to his workers and criticized the Republican measure, and then stopped contributing. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis responded by signing a bill intended to strip Disney World of its special tax status near Orlando. That's where that came from.
Now that's interesting.
I
wonder how that's going to play out.
Yeah, dude.
I bet they save a lot of money every year in taxes because of that special tax status they had. So I wonder how many millions and millions and millions of dollars that'll cost them.
Yeah, a lot. Did you see that somebody complained to the IRS about their church because their church was encouraging who to vote for. I guess they had it on camera what the preacher was saying. But if they start telling you who to vote for, they have to pay taxes. So it's this thing.
I mean, that's a separation of church and state. I mean, that's kind of a fair.
Absolutely. So it's this thing spreading right now.
Statement, bro.
Catch your preacher talking about who to vote for, send it to the IRS, and it's tax season, baby.
Yeah, you can't be telling people who to vote for in church, motherfucker. That's not your job.
Cocky
you don't know all these. You don't know which of these politicians are men of God and who aren't, based on their fucking political party.
Yeah. So I think
that wraps Republican it up. Or else.
I think that wraps it up with the Disney shit. There's a couple other articles, real quick.
You want to get into 2 female climbers?
Yeah, this is a quick one. Let's just celebrate these two women.
Man, super impressive. First of all, are you familiar with K2? Have you ever watched any documentaries or anything on K2?
Nah, not really.
I'm fascinated with that type of shit, mountaineering, mountains, shit like that. So I'm very familiar with K2.
Okay, tell us all about
it. It's just known as being like the most dangerous summit in the world. I mean, it's the second highest peak in the world next to Everest, like right there in terms of height. If you watch the documentary 14 Peaks on Netflix, yep. Have you watched it?
Yep. And they
they summoned a K2 in that documentary. So, and if you remember, that was the one that like he on his trip down from the summit, he got that whatever altitude sickness or whatever because he was running out of oxygen. He started hallucinating. He almost died on the way down. So that was the one that almost took his life. So this is super impressive for 2 women to pull this off. A Pakistani woman and a woman from Iran, if I remember correctly.
Pakistan.
I was supposed to say Pakistan and Iran.
Okay. I'm thinking about another documentary that I think you would like if you haven't watched it already, but continue on and I'll find that.
So we are extremely proud to announce that Samina Baig, with her strong Pakistani team, successfully summited the world's most fascinating and dangerous mountain, known as Savage Mountain, the world's second and Pakistan's tallest mountain, K2, at 8,611 meters this morning at 7:42 a.m. A statement from Samina's team said, according to the Print India. When the experts say K2 is the most dangerous, they're not kidding. The mountain on the Chinese-Pakistani border has one of the deadliest records, with most people dying on the way down. Hence that dude I was talking about on the documentary, Nims, I believe his name was. As PBS points out, only a few hundred people have reached K2 summit, which is insane to think about. Think how many thousands and thousands of people have reached the summit of Everest, the second tallest mountain, and even fewer people make it down. The mountain is considered extremely difficult to climb. Not only is it the second highest after Mount Everest, its ascent and descent are considered much more challenging than the world's highest. K2 is the coldest and windiest of climbs. At places along the route, climbers must navigate nearly sheer rock faces rising 80 degrees while avoiding frequent and unpredictable avalanches.
80 degrees.
Pretty terrifying.
Bro, so shout out to these girls. I don't want to say shout out. I hate when people fucking say that. Shout out to Samina Baig and Afsane Hessamafrard.
Super impressive.
Afsane Hesam. Oh, thank you. I'm just pronouncing that word.
Hessamafrard. I can't pronounce it either.
Afsane Hessamafrard and Samina Baig. Yeah. History. The documentary I was talking about, The Alpinist.
I watched that too. I've seen it. That dude, Andre Ledette.
Don't say what happened, LaFleur. I think it's LaFleur. Don't say what happened. If anybody out there hasn't seen it, go watch The Alpinist. Oh my goodness.
Dude, right? That dude's insane.
Yeah, is insane, right? Yeah, good one. Good catch.
Marc-Andre Leclerc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What a great documentary. What a prodigy, dude.
Yeah, he was insane. That dude would do ice climbing. That made my palms sweat,
bro.
Watching him do the ice climbing, where he's just climbing. Like solo climbing up a wall of ice,
faster, breaking records
into like. Ugh.
I love his old school vibe. How he was like, he wasn't bringing his phone and shit to put on social media. He just he
didn't even let the documentary people like
go with him the first time.
He was like, no, fuck you. That's not a true free solo. Like that's not a real
right.
Come with me. That's not really solo. So like that's not. I don't care about the accolades. Like just leave me alone. I just want to go climb.
Yeah, and so go watch that.
Was truly all about that life.
Yeah. So, heard footsteps. Nobody's here, so it's kind of scared the shit out of me.
Whoa.
So, congratulations to those two ladies, Samina Baig and Afsinamar Harafafsinafard.
Yes.
For that.
Now, on a negative note, we have another health situation spreading around the world. Dylan.
Yeah, what's up with this?
Monkeypox.
Yeah, I mean,
is becoming a global emergency. No, dude, it's not. This is fucking ridiculous.
Here's the whole thing that makes my brain fart out is that monkeypox has been transmitted in Africa.
Right.
All of a sudden, it's in Europe. And it transmits through rodents and squirrels. And there was even a case where it was transmitting with groundhogs at one someplace, you know. All of a sudden, monkeypox shows up. It doesn't leave Africa. That's
mysteriously shows up in Europe
and isn't transmitting from animals. It's transmitting through men having sex with men.
Gay men.
How does this happen? Like, what's the answer to this?
Sorry, I'm dealing with a cat.
That's all right. That's the big question that is so obvious to me is it's not the same thing. It's got to be a cover up. What's happening? How does
you think that it's a different disease? Is that what you're saying?
How would this thing
did it
pop up in Europe?
Oceans?
It popped up in Europe. Yeah, it jumped out after forever of not leaving Africa. That's the thing. If you read a list of things about the virus, it's in Africa.
It's been in Africa for a while.
Doesn't leave Africa. Even
they have a vaccine for it already.
It shows up in Europe, and the one in Europe doesn't transmit with rodents. It transmits through sex with men. It's not even the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. And anybody who's like doesn't question that, I can't play golf with you.
Well, now, okay, so apparently it's not cool to say it's like a disease that's just transmitted through gay sex with men.
That's what the article said.
Well, I know, because that's literally what it is. What's happening? You can't deny facts, but apparently, I've been reading on Twitter that some of the woke media is not referring to this disease in that capacity, and they're saying that we don't know how it spreads and that it could be spread upon casual contact. Although everything that this article is saying is that that's not the case. 99% of all monkeypox cases beyond Africa were in men, and that of those, 98% involved men who have sex with men. So gay men.
Yeah, so it's not even the same thing. And monkeypox is a later version of smallpox, according to this article. Basically, it's a later, less bad version of smallpox.
Well, the reason I say that, I was on stream last night with one of my friends that I don't know this guy, just was streaming with him, playing video game, and somehow monkeypox came up, and I'd read this article, and I was like, well, we don't have to worry about catching that shit, making a reference that we're straight men, so we're okay. And they're like, oh no, man, like apparently you just have to really it's more spreadable than that. You just got to brush up against somebody. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure you got to have anal sex or sexual contact of some sort in order to spread the disease. And he's like, no, it's just you think you just got to touch somebody who has the warts. I'm like, all right, I don't think that's accurate, but that type of information is being spread around. So they're making people think it's more severe than what it is.
Yeah. And
that's the reason I say that is because like, this is not something really Yeah, like I'm not worried about monkeypox. Are you worried about monkeypox? I'm
No.
good. Like we don't need more funding to take care of this disease. Like people in this article are arguing that as well. Like the countries that are saying that we need this global declaration of emergency for, they already have the resources in place to fight this disease, right?
They got the vaccines, and they're going to America and Europe first.
You're going to America and Europe, so they're not even sending the vaccines to where you think if you'd want to cure the sickness, right? Like send it to where it's coming from Africa, but they haven't sent any, like 0 doses of a monkeypox vaccine have gone to Africa thus far.
0. And they've gone
to America and Europe.
What's his name? Towards the end, he says Mbala is his name. The solution needs to be global, Mbala said, adding that any vaccine sent to Africa would be used to target those at highest risk, like hunters in rural areas. Quote, vaccination in the West might help stop the outbreak there, but there will still be cases in Africa. Unless the problem is solved here, the risk to the rest of the world will remain. Basic shit. The politicians and huge corporations leading this just go the opposite way. On purpose. They just slice it into the fucking brush.
Declare it's an emergency
ball,
so that we
take the penalty shot. And they're like, well, we had to because.
So we basically have experts saying that we do not need to declare this an emergency.
Half and half.
It was half and half. And it was the chief.
So what about the half that doesn't think this is a problem? None of them matter. It was this one guy. And this is very reflective of what happened with Boris Johnson and the first lockdown of COVID. Remember that? The panel that said, we don't have enough evidence to do a lockdown. Lockdowns are going to hurt people more than if we just wait and let people know just to calm down. And none of their opinions mattered or made the press. It was the one guy that Boris Johnson singled out that pushed the narrative that started the first lockdown. And this is that, there's always a team of scientists that have more to say that you never hear about because the one guy comes out, and that's what
WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom, I can't say his last name. I'm not even going to try. Made the decision on calling monkeypox a global emergency despite a lack of consensus among experts on the UN Health Agency's Emergency Committee, saying he acted as a, quote, tiebreaker. It was the first time a UN Health Agency chief has unilaterally made such a decision without an expert recommendation.
Without an expert recommendation.
Last month, WHO's committee said that the monkeypox outbreak did not yet amount to an international emergency, but the panel convened this week to reevaluate the situation. According to the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 16,000 cases of monkeypox have been reported in 74 countries since about May. And to date, monkeypox deaths have only been reported in Africa, where a more dangerous version of the virus is spreading, mainly in Nigeria and the Congo.
There was some interesting stuff behind the company I tried to look into real quick. Bavarian Nordic.
That's the company who provides the vaccines.
Yeah.
And has a patent for it.
Yeah, they have the smallpox vaccine, yada, yada, yada. The day they got approval to add to the existing vaccine, it will also cover monkey. They didn't make a vaccine. They added to the existing vaccine that it will also cover monkeypox. Once that got approved is the day everything went live in the media and this narrative started. And their stocks, their shares boosted by 26%. Yeah.
So you're saying this monkeypox vaccine is a newer vaccine that just came out?
I was reading from the actual Bavarian Nordic website.
Got it.
And it said, I'm trying to recall here. Okay. It said something about this vaccine will also cover monkeypox. And there was an approval with the health official shit to add monkeypox to what the vaccine will cover. So it's not necessarily this new vaccine they made. It's an existing smallpox vaccine with coverage against monkeypox added. And the second that was approved, which had been in the works, right? That's when this article, I think, or this whole narrative went live. It was all in sync. boom, ready to go. And their shares boosted, their stocks boosted like 26%.
So they could have been
tons of money.
They could have been a situation where it manifested like, all right, monkeypox cases are rising. We got to find a solution for this. Let's try the smallpox vaccine because it's a virus that aligns closely to smallpox. Oh, hey, we've done the clinical trials and now we know that this vaccine is also good for monkeypox. Let's add this to the list of viruses that this smallpox vaccine protects you against. So it could have been just a coincidence. I'm just playing devil's advocate. It could have been a coincidental situation in which the rise of monkeypox cases led to the need for a new solution. So they looked at existing vaccines that were on the market, found one that was closely aligned, and just used that and changed the classification of that vaccine to also be a monkeypox vaccine after they discovered that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think they do that often with vaccines. Especially, I mean, I'm assuming that monkeypox is a similar virus to smallpox, right? Like with the type of reaction your body has to it, where it produces these bumps, shit over your skin and warts.
I can't argue with that.
I don't know. I'm just laying out another argument.
I mean, everything does seem to just kind of flow with reality if you don't really look in. You know, it's like, oh,
you're right. Okay, you're right.
Go like, yeah, the fucking vaccines, and that's what we got science for, so they can save the world every time shit happens. So they're right on it, and way to go. You know,
well, you got to look, but with these things, you have to, if you're going to consider a conspiracy, you have to look at the opposite side of it too, though, Dylan. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's what we're reading is the opposite side. So I actually had to intentionally look up Bavarian Nordic conspiracy is what I searched just to see what's out there regarding the opposite end.
I do that often.
And I didn't find much. I mean, I wasn't reading much, right? I didn't spend hours reading, but I just found on Reddit. I'll just share it with you. This is just what I found. This is a starting point for further research. This isn't my conclusion.
Sure.
It says it's a subreddit of a screenshot of a MarketWatch article that says Bavarian Nordic shares surge on order for monkeypox vaccine amid Europe outbreaks. One case in the U.S. So this user says the same exact day Bavarian Nordic announced their BARDA deals on smallpox, monkeypox vaccines being ordered, the mainstream news media and the government, CDC, decides to acknowledge and announce a monkeypox outbreak. That's what it was.
Oh, there's definitely.
And then their shares surge.
Of course, there's definitely some palms being greased with money when it comes to that shit. I'm sure, right? Like.
And at the same time, they're not sending these to Africa.
Could be, I'm saying it could be a situation in which like all right, well, monkeypox cases are on the rise. There's an opportunity for us all to make money here, right? Like I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking shoot this goddamn cat. He's fucking scratching at my daughter's doors, fucking wake her up, and I'm gonna literally kill him.
Do you watch the Cat Whisperer show?
There's a cat whisperer.
Yeah, it's called My Cat from Hell or something. It's a guy that shows up and helps people fix their cat problems. Might help you if you haven't seen that show. It's really interesting.
Or I could just put him down. I forgot what I was talking about. God damn it. What were we saying?
What were we saying, man? Bavarian Nordic shares greasing their palms.
So there's this disease hitting the US and Europe. We already have this vaccine. It's not that serious of an outbreak. I mean, 16,000 cases is that, I mean, what's the world population, Dylan? 8 billion people?
8 billion.
8 billion people, right? So 16,000 divided by 8 billion.
No, I don't know.
You got to turn your phone sideways to do that number.
World
is like 0.00002%.
World population is 7.96 billion. Your boy called it, son.
Yeah, so 0.00002% of the population has contracted monkeypox. So it's not that serious. Anyway, my point being, this is not that serious of a disease, yet the pharmaceutical company and mainstream media are going to blow it up to where it seems really serious, where they can sell vaccines and everyone makes money, baby.
The COVID wave done rolled. They made
everyone. We got to make money on something.
We need more.
Look, we got to beat these profits from last year. Come on, year-over-year growth.
Oh, and backtrack to the last article. One of those guys also worked with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation a lot. The voting shit. The last article.
I'm sure the Democratic committee.
Yeah, it might have been this one, actually. I was looking up people's names and just getting quick. It was Dr. Michael Ryan. In July, hold on. Yeah. WHO's emergency chief, Dr. Michael Ryan, said the Director General declared monkeypox a global emergency to ensure that the world takes the current outbreak seriously. Although monkeypox has been established in parts of the Central and West Africa for decades, it was not known to spark large outbreaks beyond the continent or to spread widely among people until May, when authorities detected dozens of epidemics in Europe, North America, and elsewhere. So this is where my, skepticism kicked in, was because
yeah, that's pretty fucking sketchy.
So I'll just read this about.
That is sketchy.
I copied and pasted this from Dr. Michael Ryan's Wikipedia. It's a little paragraph. In July 1990, Ryan moved to Ireland, and this is WHO's emergency chief right now that's pushing for global emergency ship. In July 1990, Ryan moved to Iraq with his girlfriend, later his wife, to train Iraqi doctors. Very shortly after his arrival, the invasion of Kuwait happened, which suspended his work and meant he and his wife were made to work as doctors under captivity, often working under duress. A military convoy ran a vehicle Ryan was in off the road, crushing multiple vertebrae. Eventually, Ryan and his wife were allowed to leave Iraq due to their injuries. Ryan's severe back injury prohibited him from working as a surgeon. He made a shift into the fields of public health and infectious diseases. Ryan worked with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on their efforts to stamp out infectious diseases in Africa. That's so interesting, dude. Michael Ryan worked with Bill and Melinda Gates. Remember, Bill Gates, philanthropist, shit tons of money helping Africa. So here we are, global emergency.
And they're not sending any of these vaccines to Africa,
where they know it will stop it. All of these resources and attention and our top experts on TV talking about saving the world, and no one fucking gets it. They're not saving the world. It's very easy. Back to the cocoa slave employees from the, all they wanted was just pay us for our work. But here we are doing Starlink and having we're trying to eradicate the worst forms of human slavery. It's like, dude, your business should be shut down. Stop the fucking slavery and just pay them.
Yeah,
these aren't hard solutions. And it's so strange to watch in real time. Obvious corruption happening and no one, so trippy. So freaking true.
Hey, you want to pause it right here so I can go feed Lillian, and then we'll pick up these last two articles?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, I shouldn't be very long. Just a couple minutes.
All right, text me.
I'll be right back.
All right, so here's another one of those obvious things that people don't typically question for whatever reason. Exxon, Chevron, and Shell report record profits in the first and second quarter of this year. And profits are fundamentally impossible if, in fact, prices are rising, right? They're rising for us, but not them, obviously.
Well, so what is going on with this? I thought the video at the top of the article did a really good job of explaining it, that young man on that video.
The young man on that video.
Like I'm an old guy referencing him. Anyway, yeah, I'm not going to do as good of a job breaking it down as he did, but basically when consumers started to hit the road again towards the end of the pandemic, everyone's going back to work. We're shipping more and more goods across the world. Demand for oil and gas starts to shoot up. The price of oil and gas starts to go above $100 a barrel. All of a sudden, these companies, Exxon, Shell, all these giant producers are recording record profits because the price the profit per gallon of gasoline they're pumping is a lot higher than it's ever been for them. Now, traditionally, whenever supply is low, demand is high, and the price of the supply is really high, producers would start to produce more to make more money, right? Generate more revenue because the price of the product is really high. Let's generate more money. But because they are making these record profits at the price of what the price per gallon is, they are incentivized to just keep their overhead low, not pump as much, because they are able to, because their stock prices are shooting up for the first time in a long time. And their investors are being rewarded by this. So rather than produce more of the supply, they're going to honor their shareholders and just keep supply extremely low to keep the price high, so that they are making more profit on what they are pumping, so that they are satisfying their shareholders.
Wait, can you say that again? Keep the prices low while they're high?
No.
Or high while they're low?
No, keep the I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Keep the production low. Keep pumping less oil to keep the price of the oil high, so that their shareholders are happy because they're making better profits. Because there's less overhead, they're making more profit per gallon pumped out of the ground.
And maybe is also because they're making more profit, more people are investing, so they're also making more on the shares increasing too. Because the shares are also increasing while this is
right.
It's like the vaccines. They're making money. It's all designed to make as much money as possible. And when it comes to the actual help they're talking about, there's no vaccines in Africa. And with the gas prices, they're obviously just making shit tons of money. And what's the holdup here? What's the holdup? And no one's saying anything.
They are all in collusion too. So the CEOs of these companies have already said there's no price per gallon that the price per barrel that the oil could get to where they're going to increase production past what their projections are over the next couple of years, which are 5%. They're only going to increase production by 5%.
What does Biden have to do with not allowing our oil companies to, not allowing us to use our own?
Well, Biden
resources?
is putting pressure on them to produce more now.
Well, that's what it says, but is he actually? Because that's also what the AOC and the squad says about healthcare is we're fighting for healthcare, and then they go and vote for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker of the House without making her sign. All she had to do was
think about it from the oil companies' perspective. They've been demonized from all these years. They've probably gotten all these different tax benefits and shit like that pulled from them from Democrats over these years. So what is incentivizing them to actually produce more? Are they going to honor Biden, or are they going to honor their shareholders? You know what I mean?
So you think Biden actually is trying to do this?
The current gas price situation is certainly not helping Biden's political agenda right now.
Because here's the thing, is because all these oil companies, these are American, like Exxon is in Irvine, Texas. And right when Biden got elected was when all this stuff, all the gas prices skyrocketed. So there's got to be some cause and effect with the president and gas prices. As much as people say, no, gas price, that's a global thing. It's happening everywhere. It's like, yeah, but who's supplying the oil? Who's the companies? And like, why did it change right when the president changed? Like, what's really happening here? So my question is Biden actually fighting, or are they working together? Because he's the poster boy of the establishment. He is the guy that will allow he's working with the establishment. That's what I'm saying. He's the establishment. He's the guy that just allows these wheels to keep going. That's what we were talking about a while back, because if Biden gets elected, everyone's just going to go back to sleep.
Well, it's interesting that OPEC is in alignment with these American oil and gas companies as well. They're saying, well, we're not going to increase production either. We're going to keep our overhead low, keep the price of oil high, so that we keep our profits high too. So OPEC, these Middle Eastern countries and companies are also in alignment. Now, are they slipping Biden and his administration some money on the back? I don't know. Maybe. Probably.
What changed with the presidents that the oil company.
I don't know that it changed with the president. Like the explanation from the video that from on this article is that the change was at the end of the pandemic, basically, whenever people really started to full blown have demand for consumer goods really high, where we're shipping shit across the world. Like that's it, for you need fuel for airlines, for shipping, and for these big shipping boats and shit like that. Trucks driving across the country to get goods to people, and then people just returning to work, right? All that stuff kind of coincided with this changeover of the presidency as well, if you think about it, which if you were thinking about it from a conspiratorial standpoint, you know, Biden would make himself look good. And I say Biden's administration, because I think Biden's kind of going with the flow of whatever people are telling him to do. His administration would make themselves look good by starting to lift those restrictions when they came into office. And did they not do that?
I don't know. Did they?
Yeah, everything started to get laxed here in the last couple of years as it relates to the pandemic. So anyway, people are out and about again. So the demand is super high, which is what's causing the price of oil and gas to be super high. But they could produce more and drive the cost down if there were more supply to hit the market, but they're just not incentivized in any way, shape, or form to do so, because there's a shortage of workers. The cost of entry is high. It costs a lot to actually pump oil and drill more. You have more overhead whenever you have to drill more. So there's no incentive for them to actually go out and spend money on more production whenever they can just keep their profit margin super high. I don't know. Maybe there is some collusion happening there between these companies and the government.
Yeah. Seems
like Biden can do something to incentivize these companies to drill more, right? Like there's been this big anti-oil and gas push over the past couple of years with this ESG agenda. So maybe this is a retaliatory move against the Biden administration from the oil and gas companies. Mm-hmm. They're like, fuck you. We're not going to pump more oil and gas when you need us to now. We're going to just keep our shareholders happy. Go fuck yourself.
So that's interesting. There seems to be this apparent emphasis, not from you, but just from the facts, that these large private companies are just playing business.
Yeah.
But here we are in the real world paying gas prices, talking about politics and this and that. No, it means the economy's good, or it means this, or global had nothing to do with this, and has nothing to do with that. It's all just a natural organism functioning like it should be.
I'm not saying that, but
no, you're not saying it. I'm just trying to capture the whole of the sentiment I've been getting just from watching the surface of this happen. So it's like high gas prices has been a result of just how things work right now because of the pandemic and shit.
Well, there's predatory practices at play. These companies could be increasing production, which would
what I'm saying.
Which would help them they would make money because the price is high, but it would be short term, right? It would be short lived, because as soon as supply caught up with demand, price of oil goes down. Now your profit margins aren't where they were, and you've added all of these additional drilling rigs and this additional overhead that now you got to pay for. So you got to just continue to increase production there's this weird balancing act you got to maintain as a business owner, right? So it's tricky.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that's what I'm trying to say is it has seemed political. Like it's just embedded in the way the global infrastructure is working.
Definitely.
When you look at
it's largely controlled by OPEC too, right? When it comes to this, because they can turn the spigot on and off whenever they want, because they have the dominant control of the world's oil supply. So this coalition of Middle Eastern nations, if they wanted to really make a president look bad, they could be like, fuck you, bitch. I'm going to tighten the spigot a little bit, make the price of oil go up. Gas is going to go through the roof, and I'm going to tank your political campaign because I don't agree with your political ideals.
Yeah.
And you're not giving me what I want politically. So
yeah, that's like
it could be political, right? But there could be foreign actors at play here as well.
It could be, but what I'm saying is if you go out and talk to people about the gas prices, they'll say political things.
Right.
That will dismiss the issue as just something we got to get through. And one look at the issue is very clear. It's quite the opposite. It's just big corporations being big corporations.
Yeah.
And here we are, just another issue that's just going down the river because people are absorbing information that
fine. It's the Democrats' fault. It's the Republicans' fault. No,
cleverly dismisses these issues.
It's really the company's fault.
The mainstream media establishment creates these cleverly worded narratives that people dismiss the issue instead of protesting or anything. It's just weird. It's weird how lackadaisical, I think is the word, people are about this issue if it ever comes up. I think about this
price of gas.
Yeah, I think
people are lackadaisical about that. People are pretty fired up about that.
Yeah, but like they're about the wrong thing. About the wrong thing. When they talk about the issue, they're just like, yeah, it's this and yeah, it's that.
Fucking Biden.
That's what I'm saying. It's everything
down here. It's fucking Biden. That motherfucker.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And then over here, it's not Biden. It's the war in Russia and things around the world, and because of this and sanctions and COVID and
Putin's price hike,
vaccine, and everybody should have got vaccinated. Everybody should have got vaccinated. So what I'm saying is, lackadaisically, people say the issues they think is the problem,
right?
And none of it's the problem. It's so simply, and these companies like run media, they buy all kind of shit. But anyway, I'm glad to be here to poke holes in the way the world works. And
yeah, me too. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, sit back and say I told you so when the world continues to burn. So talking about real quick to wrap, do we have another article?
You sent me, and this was one I was going to let you explain with Mark Cuban.
Yeah, this is
Mark Cuban tweet.
Yeah, I get lost.
You're the crypto guy, and when it comes to finance and crypto, I'm like,
hey man, I was talking about Filecoin just now. Filecoin went down to $5.50 from an all-time high of over 200. And Filecoin is based on, I think Filecoin is a good one because it's based on a highly encrypted blockchain-based information storage for people that run businesses and have classified information like lawyers or tech companies with like agreements and things like that. They can save these things in a highly secure blockchain format, which is Filecoin, instead of something like iCloud or Google Drive. There's things where you want it safe. So Filecoin is that kind of company. And then they have the cryptocurrency, which is, it's like there's a company and then the cryptocurrency represents their share, but you can spend it. It's really weird how this whole thing works.
It's really weird to me, I know.
But
that's why I was like, you can explain this fucking article.
But I think Filecoin's a good one, and it's going up to, I think it's like at 9 cents right now. And I almost bought a bunch of it, but I had to keep my money for a tour. And my money I was going to put 1,000, and my money would be almost at 2,000 right now. And it's not even going up to where it's gonna, which is its regular place, which is like $50 a coin.
But so what you would be doing, that's a pump and dump though, right? If you should be investing, shouldn't you like invest, right? Not pump and dump.
No, I'm not artificially inflating anything. I'm putting money on it and I'm letting it go up because it's going to. Pumping and dumping is where you artificially inflate something and then you all
no, but I mean like
dump it.
You're saying like you'd like put $1,000 in and wait till it gets to like, I don't know, 8,000 then sell
half of the profits and wait for it to drop again and reinvest.
Okay, well there you go.
It's a
but like a hard time.
No, it's cool, but I mean, it's so low right now. If you did buy some and it just goes back up to where it normally sits, dude, that's what, times 10? If it goes back up to 50,
that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy. But anyway, Mark Cuban foresees the SEC coming up with nightmare crypto regulation and this
registration rules.
Yeah, registration rules to register your tokens. His warning was in response to a tweet by U.S. Senator Pat Toomey, who slammed the securities watchdog over its enforcement action against the former Coinbase employee, where 9 crypto tokens were identified as securities. What is a security? This is a word that...
It's a financial asset that's tradable.
Okay. So Coinbase quickly disputed the allegation that it listed crypto securities, an asset that it, like, I could trade this for, what's that even mean? So that part goes a little lost on me. I'm not going to
pretend to be a finance guy. So,
but there was an inside story about an employee at Coinbase, which is a trading platform for crypto, tipped off 2 of his friends about new coins or tokens being added to the database, which means if you can buy it early, by default, it will inflate just by starting.
There you go. So that's what it was about.
That's what they were doing. And he got caught, but then he labeled them as securities or something. And then they disputed. So this whole thing came out. And then Toomey made a tweet that said, yesterday's enforcement action is the perfect example of the SEC having a clear opinion on how and why certain tokens classify as securities, yet the SEC failed to disclose their view before launching an enforcement action. So I think it's another example like Disney and Hulu and
just making up the rules as we go.
Yeah, the SEC doesn't have laws
against crypto. Yeah,
like securities with banks and money and stocks or whatever. You can navigate those laws; they exist, but there's nothing for crypto. So then Mark Cuban said, think this is bad. Wait till you see what they come up with for registration of tokens. That's the nightmare that's waiting for the crypto industry. How else do you keep thousands of lawyers employed and create reasons to ask for more taxpayer money? I didn't understand that sentence.
Well, that the SEC has thousands of lawyers working for them and they take taxpayer money. That's what he's talking about.
Okay.
He's basically calling just a bullshit agency.
Right. So they're going to make it required to register tokens to employ thousands of their lawyers and create reasons to ask for tax. Okay. I see.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's going to suck. So he's basically predicting some fucked up SEC bullshit rules with crypto.
So his tweet included a link to a YouTube video of him attempting to submit a no action letter to the SEC in order to ensure that a stock purchase he is about to make would not violate insider trading laws. However, the billionaire demonstrated that the process is highly complicated, emphasizing that it does not give investors confidence that they will not break the law. What I found even shocked me, Cuban wrote after going through the process as directed by the SEC. Most no-action letters describe the request, analyze the particular facts and circumstances involved, and discuss applicable laws and rules, the SEC stated on its website. If the request for no action is granted, the SEC staff would not recommend that the commission take enforcement action against the requester based on the facts and representations described in the individual's or entity's request. So they just make these things. They make up these rules as they go. They overcomplicate these issues so that they can decide where the hammer falls and where it doesn't fall with this. Mm-hmm. And with a new market like crypto that's emerging, that is currently in its Wild West phase, as we talked about earlier, with the advertising as it relates to digital platforms, they're just gonna make up the rules as they go and not worry about who they bury along the way.
I like what he says here. Cuban called out the SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, on his investor protection focus. So apparently the SEC chairman was talking about how they protect their investors.
Mm-hmm, sure.
He said, if you were working on behalf of investors, you make it easy for questions by investors and business people to be asked and answered, meaning you just have communication. So, but you make it near impossible. I think he's talking relative to the crypto investments. Those who can't afford lawyers can only guess. So basically what's happening, and Mark Cuban is calling him out, is...
So just to correct you, he's talking about that in reference to his attempt to purchase, not crypto, right? Like his attempt to purchase those shares under the no action clause.
Oh, okay.
But imagine this being the same scenario. He's saying that like he related the registration of crypto tokens to this experience he had with the SEC. Because imagine, registering your token and having to go through this type of crazy hoop jumping where you have to hire a bunch of lawyers to make sure you're not breaking the law along the way.
Yeah, I didn't get to finish, but his quote was,
I'm sorry.
Those who can't afford lawyers can only guess, which is what you're talking about here. So it's like,
sorry.
You can't.
I took that from you.
No, but you did correct it because he was talking about what I didn't know he was talking about. But it's still relatable because, if I got money and I'm dropping on crypto and you get caught up in something and the SEC is pulling rules out of their ass and I don't even have money for a lawyer to like play that game, I'm fucked. I'm just guessing. And that's not fair. Like from the get-go, it's not. It's like the vaccine and informed consent. It's impossible, in my opinion, and many people's opinion, it's impossible to have informed consent about the vaccines because there's simply no long-term data, period. And I've heard people say things like, yeah, well, they were in trials before and some Emergency Authorization Act, and we can get into that. But like a vaccine that's rushed in a year, it takes 10 years.
That apparently doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't even work. And there's no list of side effects. They won't even let you talk about it. They won't say anything about potential side effects. That's not informed consent. And then way later, an 18-page document PDF from Pfizer comes out. It's like full of side effects. We did not have informed. It's fundamentally impossible for a vaccine that's been rushed out in less than a year to have enough data for us to have informed consent. And that's basically what's happening here with the SEC. It's like, y'all don't have any laws at all to even come out later and hold me accountable for anything.
Right. So it's the Wild West right now, and they're making up the rules as they go.
Yeah. Crazy. The SEC recently came under fire for regulating the crypto sector by enforcement. Last week, U.S. Congressman Tom Emmer also slammed the SEC for, quote, cracking down on companies outside its jurisdiction. He asserted, under Chair Gensler, this dude, investor protection guy, under Chair Gensler, the SEC has become a power-hungry regulator, politicizing enforcement, baiting companies to come in and talk to the commission, then hitting them with enforcement actions, discouraging good faith cooperation. Interesting how he said politicizing enforcement, because that makes me think of Biden always talking about, remember when he was constantly talking about how there's going to be an attack to the infrastructure, the power grid, and an inevitable failing of the power grid and the infrastructure and going down and attack and domestic right-wing terrorism, hackers attacking the grid, right-wing conspiracy Reddit, all that stuff. So I think that's the politicizing that's been happening. I think the SEC might be pushing Biden to start politicizing a narrative about hackers and crypto, because we saw a lot of crypto shit, like crypto guy steals hundreds of millions, right-wing Reddit user type stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I think that might be what he's talking about.
Crypto's only used for criminals.
Yeah, all stuff like that, because they want the general population to be okay when the SEC comes out with all these laws and wants you to register it. Well, you should register it like you should register guns. That way people don't do bad things anymore. It's interesting watching this happen.
We got in on the ground floor, Dylan, and all of you listening.
The ground floor. That's the name. We're renaming the podcast again, fourth time. The ground
just
floor.
Have 2 or 3 names.
The ground. Yeah, we'll change it every episode, whichever one we'll update every episode. Ground floor podcast. Fucking okay. So I think we did good service for humanity today.
We did it. We did. We made the people awaken.
Dude, if we LLC and make this podcast official, could we write off everything because this is like a public service, like a charity?
I mean, you could.
Like
I don't know. I
public
guess
service?
you could probably make this an LLC and write off like the equipment and shit. Yeah,
Probably should.
probably
Dude,
should. You
Can
probably
go.
should.
I can go, dude. I should because I'll be able to write off a trip to Peru. Go to Tiwanaku, Cusco, Pumapunku.
That would be sick.
We do episodes on it. Write that shit off, dude.
Do episodes from there.
Bro, I got AirPods. I can
All right.
just
Yeah, we got this.
you want LLC it. I already priced the plane ticket to Peru. That's why I brought it up. If I buy a ticket for mid-October, like 2nd to the 12th, take a guess how much that round trip ticket is right now. Take a guess. Peru and back.
$476.
Damn, okay, 650, but okay.
Okay,
Not bad, right?
not bad at all. Damn, I was lowballing too.
Yeah, I hear talk about plane tickets to like LA and New York over $1,000, and it's like, damn, Peru must be, but it wasn't. So it's just like, I guess some flights are bad and others aren't. But dude, yeah, should do that, right?
That would be
fun.
awesome. That would be.
Man. Go anywhere. You and Tiffany and y'all can go camping out at like the Plaquemine Lights that Randall Carson was talking about. Just go buy a nice ass tent and just all kind of propane tanks and grills and like $800 worth of freeze dried food. Just write it all off.
I don't think it works like that. I think you actually have to also show income as well. So,
damn, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll talk to
my cousins.
I'm gonna talk to some tax people for you.
My family runs a tax business. I should ask them.
Yes, you should.
My cousins and my mima. But you should talk to your people too, and we can combine minds.
Yes.
See what we got, bro. Fuck yeah, dude.
See how much bullshit we can write off.
It very well could have been extraterrestrial. No, what's that line, dude? From Ancient Aliens. It seems to be some sort of gateway that doesn't go anywhere.
What?
Ancient Aliens.
I never saw that. So
it must be in the first season. Yeah, I love that show. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of bullshit in there, and I think it's designed propaganda to get people to dismiss these actual mysteries. But those mysteries are still, they go too far.
The mysteries are there.
Yeah, I want to watch a show that will present to me some of these mysteries just so I can sit and watch. I'll weed out the bullshit stuff about this, like the crazy lady with the lipstick. She comes on, it's like, it was aliens that came down and spoke to me. And people need to play, you know what I'm talking about?
It looks like she's cracked out.
You see the people they get on here to talk about it, and it's so obviously designed, like they will never have
legitimate dude, like scientists and
they're not going to have
geologists and
a David Fravor on to talk about evidence of the UFOs. They're only going to have the guy who's like, it could have been extraterrestrials that came down from the sky in a flaming
spacecraft.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good show. Good shit. Good episode.
Yeah. Fun times, man. All right. If I can check out our music, I guess, if you're still listening.
Yeah, people, they definitely hung in this long.
Yeah, we did a good one today. We did fucking awesome. We birdied a par 5 today. That's what we did.
Par 5, yeah.
Yeah, man. I did birdie a par 5 yesterday, which was fucking awesome. I went play golf.
Does birdie mean you were like 1 under?
1 under.
Par 5.
It was 2 dog legs, dude. 2 dog legs. I birdied. I have some bad shots too, but I'm focusing on the good, and I fucking crushed that hole, dude.
You're into golf now.
I've always loved golf. I just play, but right now I'm like really, it's a practice. I gotta
never ever played, so
bro, bro. There's a driving range on that Scott Dussault Highway.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I went there when I was in town, and it's a good one, dude. You put in $5, you get a token. You put the token, the balls fall into the basket. Put the basket first. when the balls start coming out and there's no basket.
Our first experience at a driving range, I'm like running around picking up golf balls.
Yeah, dude, for real,
dude. This dude's an asshole. Told me come here.
Dude, I'm
going
familiar.
home. I'm embarrassed.
Bro,
anxiety.
Real quick. I'm used to golf and doing that. And when I got back into it, bro, I'm so nervous going to the driving range, like, because they got the machines that dispense it now. And I'm like, my heart's racing. It's like the first time again. I'm so nervous. I feel like everyone's watching me. No one cares, And I pay for the ball. I'm so focused on figuring out the machine, dude. And I just hear like the machine is so loud. It drops 30 balls at a time. And they all just fucking bounced out everywhere. And then I had to grab a bucket.
You did that?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Like, put the basket first and then figure out the machine. So, like, it'll fall in the basket.
That is fucking hilarious.
And then the two dudes behind me were like, I guess they got an attitude because he was like, one guy told the other guy, is like, I won't be long, I swear. And I made fun of myself. I was like, I'm going to be a while. And I laughed at myself. And then the guy was like, yeah, how can you miss? They were talking to themselves, knowing I could hear that. Like, how could you miss it? There's like a sign right there. And the other guy was like, yeah, I know. And I got up. I was like, yeah, right in his face. I should have fucking said, I should have ripped them because they were being douchey.
Nah, you did the right thing.
Yeah, driving range. Birdie to par 5. It was awesome, dude. And then let me tell you, I haven't told anybody, but there was a par 3 hole. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
You haven't played golf. So I was it's a par 3 hole, and I was playing from the gold tees, which is the pro tees, the long.
Par 3 means 3 strokes to get it in the hole.
And they're generally shorter, and you don't use a driver. You use like an iron.
Right.
But there's a big part, and there's multiple tees. There's like the ladies' tee at the red. And
you went pro. I'm going fucking big, bro.
Yeah, basically. And when I pulled up to it, my thought was I'm going to hit a 7-iron. But then I looked and I saw that the gold tee was 200 yards out. But, there's par 3s that'll be 80 yards long. Like if you play a 9-hole par 3 course, you'll play some holes that are 80 yards or 120 yards. When you're playing an 18-hole and they have a par 3 hole, it's upwards 160, 170.
So this thing's 200 yards?
The gold tee is 200 yards, dude.
That's pretty far. Damn.
Yeah. And I remember at the driving range, my 5 wood was it because there's the drivers that are big and fat. Those are for the tee. And then there's like thinner looking drivers. They'll get a little smaller. Those are for when you're still in the fairway and you still got another 2 or 3. You need to drive again, basically.
Yeah.
Without a tee. So there's the fairway woods, right? So I use my 5, no tee, because my 5 will go 200 yards. Okay. So I'm like, and it feels weird because it's a par 3. That's what my whole point is. Like, this is a par 3 though. I shouldn't need a fucking fairway driver. But 200 yards is 200 yards. And I know that. And the pond is on the latter half of the hole. So you got to go to the green. You got to hit 200 or just take your stroke and go drop your ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm feeling weird because it's a 5. So I set the ball down, I line it up, and then boom, perfect contact. And I look, and it's a bullet. It's not going up. It's just like I like it. It's a bullet. And it's just flying. And it's low enough. I'm thinking, no way. It's going to clear. No way. This is a good one, right? Thinking it's going to go in the water, just kind of drop. And it just keeps rising, dude. Beautiful bullet. And it felt good. It just felt good. And then it curves to the right because it was flying left of the flag. It just curved a little bit, and then it sat down and it hit the grass, and then it bounced up onto the green like 15 feet from the flag. and me and Ford were like, it felt so good. So what I'm saying is, dude, you should go to Goodwill and just get they're like $4. Just find a driver, and then just like every other week or so, just go stop by and get a bucket and just work on your swing and just crush them, dude. It's fun as shit.
Maybe I'll check it out.
It's addictive. It's hard and it'll frustrate the fuck out of you. I broke a 6-iron on tour and a 1 driver.
You can see you doing that,
bro.
With your temper.
Yeah, man. It fucking fucking sucks sometimes.
I can see you, Dylan, just losing. The people on this podcast could too, because they seen you snap on technology. So it's yeah.
But I'm getting better at it. You know what I'm saying?
I know, man.
So
yeah, I might check that out, man. Sounds fun.
It's hard to swing though. So like if you do and it sucks.
Well, I know that's like anything worth doing in life. It sucks at first and you get better at it with practice.
Tiger Woods' coach Hank Haney has a good 3-minute tutorial, and there's so much packed in. I thought I watched it once and I was like, okay, I got it. And I went practice it the first time, and I had to get my phone back out and watch it 5 times. It was so full of little things. So if you do, I got the tutorial.
I'll YouTube shit. I'll YouTube it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can find some guys that are like, first you got to get a towel and get a stick. And what you want to do is visualize. And it's a 15-minute fucking waste of time, this fucking dude.
Yeah, so I'll just get the Tiger Woods dude.
Hank Haney.
Hank Haney.
Bro. Hank Haney. All right, man.
All right, bro. Good episode. Fun catching up.
Bye, everybody.
Later, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.